What a roller coaster has it been. After 11 weeks retrograde, the warrior planet Mars finally stations direct on Sunday, February 23rd at 17 degrees Cancer. Expect your energy, courage, and ambition to increase and things to make a lot more sense. Let's take a closer look. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western tropical astrologer who works in a whole sign system and specializes in natal relationship and predictive readings. Welcome to my channel if you're new. If you've been here a while, thank you for stopping by. Please show your support by leaving me a like and a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell. Watch more of my content because that is how YouTube knows to show my videos to more people. Helps my channel grow. Additionally, if you want to say thank you, you can buy a coffee, a tea, a croissant, say thank you that way. Before we dive in, if you're looking for more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. I offer a variety of readings. I can help you understand your natal chart, answer your burning questions about your love life, your karmic purpose, your ideal career, help you learn more about the year coming up and understand your relationship compatibility. At anastasiadoesastrology.com, you can also find a variety of products I create. My 2025 planner is a helpful tool to have on your desk to plan out your week. It includes 223 pages filled with tips and insights about astrology, journaling pages and prompts, lunar signs, lunar phases, anything you need, a lot of writing space, and it's a great tool to have with you. Additionally, since we are talking about Mars, and Mars does go direct, but it stays in the sign of its fall Cancer for about 2 more months, I'd like to highlight my Mars Kazemi candle. It is red, it is beautiful, it smells like ginger and spice, and it could be helpful for any action that requires you to stand up for yourself, that requires you to be brave, courageous, any entrepreneurial pursuits like starting a business, or asking your boss to give you a raise, or if you're working in military, it is perfect for any fitness goals, any competition as well. Mars, like I said, is in its fall in Cancer, meaning it is harder to be objective. Cancer is a very emotional sign, and so our anger, our expression of frustration tends to become passive-aggressive or very hurtful. And Mars Kazemi is the candle that captures Mars in the sign of rulership Scorpio, which is a lot more slow-moving, strategic, determined, and it conjoins the sun. That's what Kazemi is, so it's empowered because it's in the exact conjunction with the sun. Highly recommend this for the next 2 months. Anyone who's born with their Mars in Cancer, Libra, or Taurus, signs of fall and detriment. If your Mars is retrograde natally, if it is in the 6th, let's not say the 6th. If it's in the 8th or 12th houses, because Mars actually likes being in the 6th house. So check it out on my website. Mars Kazemi is a great choice right now. So Mars stationing direct, how exciting is that? I am really, really excited. Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of energy. It's the planet of courage and desire. And when Mars is retrograde, it suggests that our energy is less accessible. Planet retrograde is a perceived motion of the planet backwards. It doesn't really move backwards, but from our perspective here on Earth, it seems to move backwards. Think of it as being on the slower moving train or faster moving train, right? Like Earth moves faster than Mars. So when we're moving past Mars, even though Mars still moves, I guess like this, right? Mars is moving, like both are moving this way, but Earth is moving faster. So it starts to look like Mars is moving backwards. When the planet is retrograde, it is a cosmic opportunity to slow down and to look at the significations of that planet. So with Mars being retrograde from December 6th, we would have had a chance to ask what requires our energy, what deserves our energy, right? Depending on where this was happening, it could be about which relationships deserve your energy. if it's happening in your house of career and you're a Libra rising or Scorpio rising, it could be which professional pursuits or which public pursuits deserve your energy. Mars is the planet of ambition and desire, so you may have felt more ambivalent about your desires and your goals. You maybe felt like you lacked energy or you lacked drive, and so Mars retrograde really meant for you to sit in this discomfort and to sit with not knowing and to go deeper, right? Like dig deeper and ask yourself, why are you tired? Why are you not motivated? Why are you feeling burned out? Perhaps you've been pushing the gas pedal too hard and you've been driving on this road that sort of, like you've been stuck in the road where the traffic just goes one way, and now suddenly you get to leave the road during the retrograde, or you get to stop, right? Or you get to move backwards and you get to see all the things you have missed. So Mars being retrograde for the last 11 weeks could have been this time when you got a perspective shift, like that card in tarot, the Hanged Man, when you get to look at the world from upside down. And Mars is stationing direct in Cancer. Cancer is a very subjective, very emotionally driven sign. So I think Mars going direct here can encourage us to connect with our feelings and to connect with our inspiration. Cancer can be very powerful when it's fighting for the rights of weak people, vulnerable children, women, elderly, sick people. It has this very strong kind of like mama bear type energy. It can make an extremely passionate, successful person if it is flowing the right way, right? Like Michael Phelps, giving you an example of a really strong interpretation of Mars and Cancer. And funny enough, my boyfriend is really into American football, and so I find excitement in Googling the players' charts. And so often I see that NFL players have weaker Mars. There's so many of them with Mars in Cancer, Mars in Libra, Mars in Taurus. And so I think they find sports as a way to connect with that masculine energy within us. But that's a side note. So I think Mars stationing direct offers you a chance to become more clear, to get unstuck. You're going to keep in mind that it goes direct on February 23rd, and as it stations, so do we. A lot of times internally, we feel like we're like super focused, because when the planet stations, it stays still for a couple of days. Station literally means like it's like slowing down to a halt and then starting to move forward. So you may notice an increase in focus, an increase in obsessive thoughts potentially, or maybe like a sense of slowing down before you're getting ready to act. You may notice that everything that's been happening in your unconsciousness, like desires and motivations, becomes more conscious and becomes more noticeable. You may be realizing you're following steps, but do not expect things to make sense really, really fast. Like, give yourself some time to understand everything you've experienced over the course of the last 3 months approximately, and allow yourself to kind of contemplate and move slowly at first. Mars will be in its shadow, which means that it will be encouraging us to continue kind of to rework the themes that we started working on back in October. So when Mars went into its shadow on October 6th and then went retrograde on December 6th. And so between October 6th and December 6th, we could have met new interests, discovered new passions, started thinking about new projects potentially. And then when it went retrograde, a lot of it got derailed, slowed down. You maybe felt the lack of energy, some frustration, some ambivalence. And so now that Mars is in the shadow period again from February 23rd until May 1st, you get a chance to put the finishing touches, and now with a newfound sense of motivation, figure out what's worth your time, what's worth your energy, what's worth your commitment, right? Listen to yourself with Mars and Cancer, right? Like it's Cancer is a very personal sign. It's a very emotionally driven sign. It's a very nurturing sign. So listen to what upsets you, listen to what keeps you tired, listen to what makes you unhappy, and then make decisions from that emotionally mature, emotionally aware place. Before we dive in and talk about the 12 rising signs, I recommend that you book a reading with me at anastasia.astrology.com if you have questions about your relationship, your natal chart, or you want to know what year coming up has in store for you. And let's start with Aries rising. If you are an Aries rising, Mars is stationing direct in Cancer in your 4th house. And you may have felt unsure for a while about your home and living situation. You maybe dealt with some kind of frustration or tension in the home. Maybe there was a sense that your energy is just gets depleted. Maybe there's been some kind of family drama that you were pulled into and it was exhausting and draining, and it wasn't quite like easy to figure out what is worth your time. Even, with the living situation, sometimes Mars retrograde in the 4th house suggests that you were like busy moving, or you were busy renovating your home, and then Mars goes retrograde and things slow down, or your construction crew pulls out, or something breaks and you no longer have the same tools or the same, color paint. Maybe they discontinue and you've been repainting your house, or you've been feeling insecure because 4th house is also the place of comfort and security. And so now that Mars is going direct and it's starting to move again from your 4th into the 5th house, you're likely to feel more clear about what kind of changes you want to make in your home. There may be opportunities to improve your living situation or address any frustrations, any sort of poor boundaries or conflicts, or if family members have been taking advantage of you, now could be the time to address all of that. It could also be the time when your outer efforts begin to align with your inner desires, like maybe you've been trying to push to buy a property, but you haven't felt like you really wanted to do it. And so now you either decide that you do want it and you put your action where your mouth, I feel like that's not right, but you basically become more active, right? Or maybe you realize that you don't want to move, or you don't want to live where you are, and then you start acting in alignment. All in all, expect to feel more clear when it comes to home, family, when it comes to your living situation. We are going to have Jupiter coming into Cancer in June, which means there's going to be more opportunities to move, to start a family, to connect with family, to improve any family dynamics. And this is the beginning of improvement in this sector. I would really love to know, what did Mars retrograde bring out for you, if you have anything to share. For more guidance, visit anastasia.astrology.com, book your year ahead natal chart or relationship reading, and pick up a Mars Kazemi candle if you're seeking more direct, courageous, brave energy. For Taurus rising, Mars is going direct in your 3rd house. And for a while, you may have dealt with disagreements with siblings, maybe tension with neighbors. And Mars going direct can offer you a chance to discuss things and maybe come to some kind of agreement. If you felt like no matter what you said in the last 3 months approximately, your siblings or your neighbors just didn't hear you, maybe you've had a chance to rethink everything and you've had a chance to clear your point of view, and now you're able to communicate with more clarity and more oomph. 3rd house, Mars retrograde could have also brought a lot of like logistical issues, scheduling issues, maybe a sense of overwhelm at the work that you were doing, maybe even honestly some kind of issues with technology, your car, your route to work, where you felt like you didn't quite like the path that you were taking, or the schedule that you were given or the technology or the car that you're driving. When Mars goes direct and it starts to move from your third into the fourth house, you may expect more smoother communication, and a lot of it will come from you becoming more clear on what you want. This can also be beneficial for any kind of writing, speaking engagements, blogging, networking with other people, working with siblings and neighbors, sort of having more, once again, more connection with them, more understanding with them. So you may expect your life to start to move forward and a lot of things to start to flow forward, especially if you've dealt with a lot of restrictions, delays. And I think a lot of it will be connected to family. Some of it might be connected to what makes you feel at ease and comfortable within yourself. And some of it might be connected to moving, with Mars moving from the third into the fourth houses. For more guidance, visit Anastasia.astrology.com and book your year ahead natal chart or relationship reading, and let me know down below if this reading resonates or if you have anything to add about Mars retrograde. For the beautiful Gemini rising, Mars is stationing direct in your second house. And for a while, you may be, so ever since Mars went retrograde on December 6th in your third house and then returned into your second house, you may have felt a sense of uncertainty when it comes to finances. Maybe you didn't quite know how to best use your knowledge to make a profit from it. Let's say you've taken a bunch of classes, a little bit about tarot, a little bit about astrology, a little bit about psychology, and you weren't quite sure how to put it all together to create your own business. Or you've dealt with some type of financial burden, maybe certain debts came out of the blue, or some kind of bills that you forgot to pay, or maybe siblings owed you money. There could have been like sort of frustration financially, frustration in terms of developing your gifts and turning them into a lucrative income stream. And now as Mars goes direct and starts to move from your second into the third, you can expect there to be more forward momentum. So it will be easier to connect with your desire to have energy to take action. And because you're more self-aligned, you're sort of more self-aware and feeling more confidence in yourself, it is also more likely that your efforts to make more money will be met with more success. So I think any kind of negotiations, financial matters, if you've been just spending money and haven't been able to have any stability, Mars going direct can offer you more stability. And it can also give you that, starting within, I think it starts with that like inner confidence, inner belief, and maybe even courage that you need in order to make the changes necessary and develop your ideas, your knowledge into a business, into a blog, into a podcast, because let's not forget that Mars is stationing direct and it's going to move from your second into the third house. I would love to know how this resonates. How has Mars retrograde been for you, beautiful Gemini risings? And if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. And we can talk about your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationship, as well as I can help you pick the right date for your wedding or help you figure out where to move, where to relocate. If you are a Cancer rising, Mars is stationing direct in your first house. And when Mars has been retrograde in your second and first houses, and you may have felt stuck. You may have felt really physically stuck. You try to go forward, you are met with red lights, delays, you're met with logistical matters you had to fix, you're met with some kind of financial restrictions. Every initiative that you could have taken could have been stuck and stagnant, and maybe you really felt like you're making no progress. And it could have been connected to money, it could have been connected to values, it could have been connected to like inner sense of tiredness maybe, or inner sense of uncertainty as well. Finally, Mars going direct on February 23rd allows you to, first of all, get more clear. Maybe you say no to some things. Maybe you realize what is a time waster in your life. Maybe you say no to people who are frustrating you. And as you clear space, as you get more certain about where you want to go, your speed begins to pick up, right? Mars begins to move. You're more able to push for new beginnings, for development, for kind of your goals and your vision. And it might be that the vision you're developing is very much connected to making more money, or it could be connected to working out more because you want to feel better physically, or it could be connected to developing a partnership into a more official sort of direction, taking it into a more official direction. I like this. I think it could be good for your health as well, for your energy, for your motivation. It could be good. You may literally notice that you're starting to hear from people that you've reached out to during the retrograde and they weren't getting back to you. And now finally things start to, the water starts flowing in the right direction. I'd love to know, how has this retrograde affected you? Please share in the comments below. And as always, for more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. Ask me questions, book a natal chart relationship, or a predictive year ahead consultation. And if your birthday is coming up, solar return is a really good one to book. For the lovely Leo rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 12th house. And so Mars has been in your 12th house for a while, right? It first went into Cancer in September, it left in November, and then it came back in January. But in general, the retrograde could have created a sense of frustration, maybe some kind of stagnation. Maybe you dealt with, like, it could have felt like you were dealing with almost like invisible enemies, because 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. So maybe you've dealt with, other people acting in confusing ways, micromanaging you, or sending you messages that felt like it had a sort of point they wanted to like poke at you and irritate you. There could have been a sense of tiredness and exhaustion and like overall like lack of motivation with Mars being in the 12th house. Maybe you've been working on something, like 12th house Mars sometimes represents working on a writing project or a spiritual project on your own, but you could have felt like you didn't quite know where to go, right? It could be like a sign of a writer's block or something else. And we got to remember that Mars went from your first house into your 12th house. So it could have encouraged you to also do some like introspection and release bad habits and connect with your true desires so that you can become a better version of yourself. And so now that Mars is moving direct, it could be really more clear who these hidden enemies are and you know how to handle them, right? Or you choose to just ignore them and focus on your personal goals. It could be the time when you're feeling clear on what bad habits are holding you back. And maybe once again, like, yes, maybe you do have hidden enemies. Maybe you do have some kind of people irritating you, but do you have a choice whether to give them your time or not? And if you do have a choice, sometimes it would be better if you choose to ignore those people, right? And or set better boundaries with them. So Mars going direct in the 12th, moving into your first, can be very much the time when you release bad habits, release toxic connections, connect with your motivation, start to feel more clear, and pursue those spiritual creative projects fully. And perhaps also you may connect with something that you truly want. For some of you, it could be being a healer. For somebody, it could be having a career that lets you travel. For someone else, it could be about being a writer. So Mars being direct in the 12th house and experiences it has brought, Mars being retrograde in the 12th house and experiences it has brought, maybe even dreams you had, messages you had received, signs you saw. All of that is meant to give you clues on what kind of new paths you should take. I would love to hear what your retrograde has been like, if you have anything to share. And if you're looking for more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationship. You can even become my subscriber and talk to me every month or get monthly horoscopes sent to you at the start of every month. For the beautiful Virgo rising, Mars is going direct in the 11th house. And for a while, Mars has been retrograde, right, the last 3 weeks. And maybe your professional efforts were met with delays. Maybe you've been trying to get your friends together to start a podcast and they were giving you confusing replies or not getting back to you at all. Maybe you've been trying to move forward with your dreams but instead just felt confused or felt uncertain which path to take. So Mars moving direct in your 11th house could finally be the time when you hear back from those friends that have been taking a long time getting back to you. It could be the time you get a networking opportunity that could be important for your career. It could be the time when you are becoming more self-aware, for sure, and more kind of clear on what you want, and you realize that maybe the energy other people were giving you is also connected to you not being sure of what you want. Okay. Adjusting. So having more clarity, having more ability to connect with other people, maybe pursue projects that are connected to working with others, finding allies I can see here, and feeling more support as well is a possibility. And if you've dealt with any friendship issues or your friend has been going through a difficult time, Mars going retrograde can also help you clear the air. You finally talk with a friend, or maybe they start to feel a little better and their life begins to improve. Please share how this resonates. Have you noticed Mars retrograde at all? Maybe you've been just sort of floating and having a good time. I'd love to know. And for more guidance, as always, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. Book your year ahead relationship natal chart reading. All of it is on my website. If you are a beautiful Libra rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 10th house. And so for a while, since December 6th, Mars has been retrograde. And Mars rules your house of money, and it rules your house of relationships. And it's been retrograde in your house of social media, dreams, networks, allies, and in your house of career. And so chances are really high that you've experienced some kind of uncertainty when it comes to your professional life, right? Maybe you felt unsure that you are moving in the right direction. Maybe you felt burned out, right? Maybe you've dealt with some kind of issues in your network, with clients, with partners, with people who are your associates potentially. Mars, moved retrograde. So maybe you've tried starting new things, but they didn't quite yield the right results. Maybe you've introduced new projects, but nobody got excited about them. And so Mars retrograde would have offered you an opportunity to seriously rethink what is it that you're pushing, what is it that you're trying to pursue, whether it is aligned with what you set out to accomplish, whether all it does is drains you. It could have also encouraged you to speak up about things that were frustrating and maybe find your voice and find courage to assert yourself and express your true opinion. And now that it's going direct, you can expect more clarity, right? You have spent all this time asking questions. You maybe felt confused. You maybe still feel confused. But as Mars begins to go direct, you start to figure some things out, right? You're no longer seeing things from the maybe more excited perspective you initially set off with, and maybe you don't see them from the confusing perspective, but now you have a bit more clarity, you have a bit more agency and a bit more courage to make the changes necessary. So Mars going direct can bring an answer from the job you've applied for. It can bring a chance to maybe rebuild a relationship, renegotiate an agreement, clear the air with the boss or with a colleague, and also just overall figure out in a limited time you have, right, on this planet, which maybe is also a long time you have. But what do you truly want to do? What makes you feel happy in a real Cancer fashion, right? What makes you feel warm, and what kind of job you want to have that feels like family, right? What kind of pursuits you want to have that put a smile on your face. Because when Jupiter comes into your 10th house in June, it will create the fertile soil. So now is the time to figure out the seeds that you want to plant into that soil. No pressure. I feel it's funny because as a Libra rising who feels very confused myself right now, I don't quite yet know what my seeds are, but I do have some ideas. So please share as a Libra rising. If you are a Libra rising too, let me know how has this affected you. And for more guidance, visit anastasia.astrology.com. We can talk about your year coming up, your natal chart, your relationship, or anything else your heart desires. If you are a Scorpio rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 9th house. So over the course of the last 3 months, Mars has gone retrograde from your 10th house of career, status, reputation, public life, and went back into your 9th house of education, travel, writing, and publishing. And so maybe something was changing in your career because of the change in your education. Maybe you've been relocating and that's been affecting your career. Maybe you've been uncertain about what you really want to do for a living, right? Mars retrograde in the 9th house could have brought up a lot of these kind of confusion around goals and wishes. Maybe you've been wondering, do I even want to go back to work now that I am a mom, right? Maybe I want to work from home or not work at all. So questions around ideology, questions around travel, education, all of it could have brought uncertainty. If we're talking about education, you may have literally realized that you're missing a credit and you need a credit to finish school. And so you may be trying to talk to teachers and mentors and administration, trying to solve the problem, right? And not getting any clear answers. Or maybe you've had issues scheduling your exams. Maybe there were some kind of logistical, maybe a teacher was giving you a hard time. Or a teacher was acting kind of confusing and not getting back to you. So now that Mars is going direct and it's going to move from your 9th into the 10th house, you can expect to feel, and it's of course your chart ruler, right? So it's extra important for you. So when your chart ruler finally goes direct, you can expect to feel better. Put it very simply, right? But you can expect to feel more energized. You can become to feel more clear about your goals and act out of that clarity, whether it means that you've been thinking about a move and you finally move, or you've been, dealing with admissions and you decide, whatever, I'll just take this class and finish, get all of my credits necessary. And moving or shifting career directions is a possibility here. Moving into direction of writing and publishing and sort of getting more clarity about what your next story is going to be or what your pen name is going to be is another possibility here. But overall, I really like this. I like this as a chance to connect with your true goals and your true purpose and perhaps come out of it with more confidence and more clarity. Please share how has Mars retrograde affected you. It started on November 6th. And it's been happening until February 23rd. So I'd love to know. Well, actually, no, it started on December 6th. I knew that didn't sound right to me. So it started on December 6th and it's lasted until February 23rd. And because it's your chart ruler, it may have been creating a bit more turmoil and frustration in your life. And as always, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. Talk to me about your natal chart, your relationship, your year coming up. I can also help you pick the right date to get married or help you figure out the best place in the US or anywhere in the world to move to. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Mars is going direct in your 8th house. And so Mars has stationed retrograde on December 6th and went retrograde from your 9th house into your 8th houses, suggesting a need to rethink some matters connected to education, whether that is your education, your student loans potentially, or your child's education. There could have been some logistical concerns. Maybe you have clients that weren't paying you or clients that wanted you to set up some kind of special payment system for them. There could have been legal matters that were maybe stagnant or delayed, education, like I already said, travel delays, and questions around relationships with other people. And that could be very practical, right? With Mars retrograding in the 8th house, where maybe you felt like something in the relationship is unfair. Perhaps you're spending more than your partner is spending, even though they're making more, or you felt unhappy with your salary, or maybe, you've been questioning life and death. Sometimes Mars retrograding in the 8th house can also make you more aware of the limitations of this plane of existence, and it can make you feel more vulnerable, and maybe you felt like you've been asking a lot of important spiritual questions and seeking for that support spiritually as well. So as Mars goes direct here, you will experience more clarity and forward momentum when it comes to money. If you've been dealing with like student loans, or you've been dealing with scholarship, applying for scholarships, waiting to hear back, any, once again, sort of engagements with other people, it will be easier to talk about things that you don't feel are fair. It will be easier to work with other people, period, and come to an understanding. You may sort of find a sense of support for yourself if it means the right people come through for you and you kind of get a payment, or you get a return on investment, or you get a resource you've been wanting, or it means that you find some kind of spiritual belief and practice for yourself that makes you feel more at ease. Let's not forget, Mars is going direct from your 8th into your 9th house. So I can also see this as like, if you're feeling unsure, if you're struggling in life, if you feel like there is no security in terms of the life of your child or your life or your finances, as Mars moves into the 9th house, it may encourage you to connect to religion, spirituality, Buddhism, philosophy, something that can help you feel more grounded, right? And more sort of secure within yourself. I'd love to know how Mars retrograde affected you. And if you're looking for more guidance, visit Anastasia.astrology.com and book your year ahead reading, your natal chart reading, or your relationship consultation to figure out how your relationship works or how to make it better. If you are a Capricorn rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 7th house. And so the retrograde started on December 6th, and Mars moved from your 8th into your 7th house, encouraging you to examine relationships, partnerships, and agreements. 8th house is the house of partners' money. 7th house is the house of partnerships. Partners' energy, partners' resources, fears connected to relationships, sharing, give and take, and relationships themselves. Your partner maybe struggled with some kind of mental health issues, or struggled with some spiritual, maybe financial issues as Mars went retrograde. All of relationships may have felt confusing, and maybe you've dealt with old fights, needed to revisit old agreements. Finally, that Mars is stationing direct, it's going to give your partner a chance to breathe, and potentially will make them feel more clear and more motivated in their life. It can also bring more alignment and more understanding into your relationship, where instead of fighting with each other or misunderstanding each other, you can move together, you can be part of the team. If you are working in partnership with someone, this could be your nanny, this could be your writing partner, this could be your gardener or your business associate, right? You may notice that there is, just in general, you like hear back from them more, they're more supportive of you, there's more understanding between the two of you. Any negotiations that maybe you've been involved in, as in like signing a mortgage, buying a property, renegotiating, I don't know, your lease or something, you may notice that Mars going direct offers more opportunity to figure things out. And you still will need to compromise. I think Mars is still in its fall in Cancer for a while, so you may still feel like, it's not exactly as you want it to be, or things are not like perfect, but that's okay. That's part of life. So be ready to compromise. And if you need additional help, Mars Kazemi is a really good candle. You can find it at Anastasia.astrology.com. On there, you can book a reading and talk to me about your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationship, and more. And please share how has this retrograde affected you in the comments. If you are an Aquarius rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 6th house. And since December 6th, Mars has been retrograde. It started the retrograde in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, and it shifted into your 6th house of work, health, and service. And so there could have been some kind of relationship confusion that encouraged you to rethink your agreements, to rethink your kind of mundane life with your partner, right? You maybe realize that you're angry with your partner for something and you keep fighting, but what it's really connected with is that they never do the dishes and you haven't told them. And so the retrograde could have revealed these very mundane bills, laundry, dishes type of problems that were stirring drama in your relationship. There could have been a need to rethink your work hours, rethink your health matters as well, and perhaps address bad habits and workaholic tendencies that could also be affecting your relationships, right? Like this could be you realizing that you want to have a child, but then understanding that you haven't been to a gynecologist in 5 years, if you're a woman or identify as such. And then you need to go to a gynecologist, you need to get your pipes clean, whatever it is, right? There could have been like a real understanding that in order to have a healthy relationship, you need to address everything that is like below the surface. Think of it as like a house and then the pipes running underneath it. Like sometimes you need to clear those pipes, you need to figure things out. So as Mars goes direct, you can experience there to be more alignment, more energy, more ability to problem solve and communicate and come to an agreement. You may feel more energetic to take care of your tasks versus with Mars being retrograde. Maybe you felt like everything is just a mess, everything feels exhausting and you have no energy to scrub the toilet again. When is this going to end, right? So Mars going direct might not only give you energy to do it, but perhaps encourage some kind of transformation, some kind of a reinvention of the mundane life. And it can also bring better relationships with colleagues, better communication with partners, better health, better routines, and more, I guess, opportunity to like streamline your work life and your everyday life so that it is more enjoyable and kind of supportive. I'd love to know how the retrograde affected you, your professional and personal relationships. Please let me know in the comments below. And for more guidance, visit Anastasia.astrology.com and pick up your reading. You can book a natal chart, relationship, predictive reading, or ask me questions about the best date for your wedding or the best place for you to live in the world. For the beautiful Pisces rising, Mars is stationing direct in your 5th house. And the retrograde began on December 6th. And lasted until February 23rd. It started in your 6th house of work, health, service, and shifted into your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children on January 6th. So the retrograde could have revealed some health issues, maybe some bad habits that were sabotaging you and affecting your joy and your pleasure and your creativity. You could have realized that there are some matters you needed to address professionally and personally, that there are some changes to your habits, to your diet, to your exercise routine that needed to happen. With the retrograde going from the 6th into the 5th, it could be like, oh, take care of your health so that you can be free to enjoy your life and date around, or free to have a child so that your health is in the best shape so that you could be the best like partner or a parent. Or it could have been about work suppressing your pleasure, right? Work maybe feeling like a drag. There could have been some matters in your romantic life where maybe, you just had a baby and you haven't had sex in 3 months. And so things felt just like stuck a little bit. And so with Mars going direct in your 5th house, you can experience that your energy slowly starts to build back up and you feel more driven. You feel more clear about what brings you pleasure versus what drags you down, what needs to be released. You may feel more inspired to take care of your love life and take care of your sexual life, right? Creatively, if you're a creative person and you felt stuck and uninspired, and the same goes for romantically. Mars going direct can be like, oh, I remember what made me excited, right? Maybe it's watching birds in the park. Or you're like, I remember what kind of turns me on, and you like implement that. So letting go of sort of heavy, difficult matters and redirecting your energy into like playful, creative, romantic pursuits can be symbolic of this retrograde, as well as it can bring improvement in the life of your romantic partner, in the life of your child if they've been struggling with anything. And you know, it can kind of offer you positive expressions of your creativity, and also just encourage you to find things that bring you joy, even when the life gets you down, even when things feel exhausting and draining and you have to take care of duties. What makes you happy? And so Mars going direct can be very much the time you connect with your heart, with your emotions, and discover those pursuits. If you're looking for more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com, book your natal chart relationship predictive reading. Let me know in the comments below how this retrograde has affected you. Are you happy it's almost over? And I'll talk to you in the next video. I hope your February is going pretty well. And we get a little bit of a break, right? Mars goes direct on the 23rd, and we have like 5 days until Venus goes direct on March 1st. So enjoy it. Run around in the field, smell flowers, have a good time, and know that even though Venus will go retrograde, things will still be okay. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.